Welcome everyone to the Reading Writing Corner. This is Leanne, your host for this non-spoiler review of Cape Refuge by Terry Blackstock. And yes, I know it looks a little beaten up, but that's because this is in fact a secondhand book that I bought at a thrift store. This story is part of a series called Cape Refuge that revolves around a made-up island called Cape Refuge. The series is considered Cape Refuge is a small town where everyone knows everyone and nothing major happens in the community. That's what Cape Refuge is about. It's supposed to be nothing major happens, but a lot of major stuff happens for the 4 books of this series, which I will review all of them because I have read them all. What made me read this book? It was a mystery, really. It was a mystery that happened in it, and then I wanted to read the rest of it because I knew there was more. Hey, look, more of the series. I want to know what happens. So I read the rest of it. Alright, the blurb for this book. Wayne and Thelma Owens run a halfway house on the small island of Cape Refuge that caters to wayward souls just out of prison. So when Wade and Thelma turn up brutally murdered, the town goes into shock, concerned that one of the Hanover House residents is a murderer who could strike again. Shattered by her parents' death, Morgan Clary struggles to keep Hanover House running while her husband, Jonathan, has been arrested for the murder. Her sister Blair is no help. Embittered by the scars of her past, Blair wants no part of her dead parents' ministry or their Christian faith. She wants to sell the house until her determined search to find the true killer uncovers some startling findings. As the killer runs free, a lethal race against time ensues for Morgan, Blair, and Kate, with far more than the halfway house at stake. As the blurb above said, Morgan's husband is arrested for the murder of her parents. The house that her parents kept open to help those that need a place to live if they are runaways or just out of prison/jail was in jeopardy of being closed. There were some people in the community that wanted to shut down the house because of the ex-convicts living there. Blair Owens, their daughter, wanted to solve the mystery of the murders herself because she is a big mystery geek, even though she runs a library. There's not much else that can be said about the story without spoiling things for you. The setup of characters was really good with the murder as a bang of a start. Some motives were out there for everyone to read, some were hidden to give it more spice. The background of each character made them feel real along with struggles each character faced. The plot was well thought out and executed in a timely manner. It was not dragged on or hurried along. The characters' reactions to the death of someone close to them was heartbreaking in a way that I could relate to. Their situations and limitations and what they could do felt real and seemed to be the way a person with that type of life or limited being able to do. This is a Christian mystery book for the genre. Did this book live up to my expectations? It was okay. The mystery was interesting and so was Blair's scarred past. Which character did I relate to the most? Blair and her inability to understand why her parents were murdered, just as I didn't understand why my mother died. What was more important, the characters or the plot? The characters and their relationships were more important than the plot. The plot was there just to show how the characters and their feelings were conveyed and to give you a reason to read the story. This story had 5 different voices to tell the story and it did not mess with my reading of the story at all, but it could have for other people. So if it's something that you can't stand, I would not recommend reading it. But if it is something you can stand, read it. I'm going to end the non-spoiler part of this review with should you go and read this story/series? Yes, if you like murder mysteries on a small island with Christianity throughout the whole book, yes, read it. If you think I deserve your like, your comment, or even your hard-earned subscription, either drop it down below. And if you want to see more, that helps. That helps you see more of me. More of what I've got to review. Not spoiler, people. If you don't want to be spoiled, you have to leave now. This is your only warning. Alright, people who want to be spoiled, here are the main characters, side characters, important recurring characters that happen throughout the book. Wayne and Thelma Owens, the previous owners of Hanover House that were murdered so that the house could be taken down and built for something else. They also lit their own house on fire a long time ago for insurance fraud. So they were not very good people. But they turned their life around, I guess, and found Christianity when the victim of their insurance fraud scam was their own daughter. Morgan Clary Nate Owens, current owner of the Hanover House and oldest daughter of Wayne and Thelma Owens. Jonathan Clary, the husband of Morgan and the one arrested for the murder of Wayne and Thelma. He didn't do it. Matthew Cade, chief officer of Cape Refuge, and he really likes Blair Owens. Blair Owens, daughter of Wayne and Thelma Owens and the victim of their insurance fraud scheme. She's also the youngest daughter. She got burned because of it because she was left inside the house and they forgot about her. She works at the only library on the small island and likes to butt into everything. Fred Hutchins, mayor and plotter of buying out the Hanover house. He also has shares in the East Coast properties. Randy Simmons, judge and owner of the East Coast properties. His wife, Nancy Simmons, also has shares in the East Coast properties, and she's a newspaper owner of the small island. Gus Hampton was a man who had committed armed robbery but had found faith while he was in prison and decided to rebuild himself at Hanover House. Sarah Wilford was a new councilwoman who didn't know jack about what Randy, Fred, and Nancy were doing. Billy Caldwell was a rookie cop who actually found, well, was actually the first ones on the scene of the Wade and Thelma murder. Chess Springer was a fisherman that found Wade and Thelma in the docks that they owned. Joe McCormick is a cop. Then you meet Sandy Caruso, a runaway from her abusive stepfather while her mother was in prison for drugs. She also had a baby brother that she wanted but couldn't take. Rick Dugan was killed to blame Hanover House for having another victim, but he was using a fake name to hide from debt. His real name was Rick Morrison. Jack Dent was the stepfather to Sandy and Caleb, and he was abusive, and he was used as the fall guy for Sadie and Caleb's death, as well as Blair Owens. Caleb Caruso was the baby brother to Sadie, and Sheila Caruso is a drug abuser and mother to Sadie and Caleb that you do meet briefly because Cade goes to talk to them about it, because he wants to protect Sadie and help Caleb get out of the abusive home. The several POVs in this story are Morgan Clary, Jonathan Clary, Matthew Cade, Blair Owens, and Sadie Caruso. My favorite character was Blade, as she struggled with her faith and her parents' death. The most disliked character was Fred Hutchins. He was a corrupt mayor that helped people get away with scams and murder, because Randy's the one that murdered Wayne and Thelma, and he was helping him cover it up. It was told in chronological order. I do not believe I read any flashbacks within the story. The language was appropriate for a Christian book, which means no swearing or anything like that. There was a good amount of foreshadowing and suspense. Each important character had their backgrounds explained and explored throughout the book. This allowed the readers to piece together things without giving away who actually murdered Thelma and Wayne Owens until the very end. The title of the book is named for the fictional island that the story takes place on, Cape Refuge. The cover of the book was a fishing boat house that was used by the Owens and others to fish, because that was their main income on the island, was fishing. Fish was their food. What stood out as memorable was Chief Cade did everything by the book even when others were not. He also did not let the love he felt for Blair get in the way of how he dealt with the process of the law. Unlike the other person in Justifiable Means. Like, seriously, he did not let the love of his life get in the way of him doing his job properly. My favorite passage from the story is, her burns stand as a constant reminder of the enormity of debt that was paid for her when Christ died on the cross. That's part of how she finds Christianity, is through learning the truth of her scars and accepting that her parents weren't goody two shoes and praying for her to, live. My favorite quote: couldn't you afford a bed of your own? Blair was picking on her sister Morgan, just like other siblings do. Because if you don't have a good sister or brother, sister, brother relationship, then you need to get it, because picking on your sibling is what you do, but not being too mean or overly rude to your own sibling. It's just healthy for the relationship with your sibling. What I thought about the ending of the book was not the best. The killer ends up in a coma that he might never wake up for, thus cannot be served justice. He cannot go to prison or jail or even be executed for his part in killing two innocent people, just because he wanted the land. What book did it remind me of? Justifiable Means by Terry Blackstock. Religious tones, mystery, cops solves it, but I liked it better because Hay did not let his love for Blair get in the way of him solving the mystery, unlike Millsap did with Melissa. I'm going to end this spoiler review with, this book is part of a series called Cape Refuge, and there are 4 books within the series. So if you want to read it, go right ahead. I will see you Next illusion.